As we said, we are going to discuss the bi-directional nature of attitudes. Bi equals two direction ways. Bi-directional means two-way. And the expression bi-directional nature means that by the human nature itself, the way we are made up, the attitudes and the behaviors look like having a two-way relationship. I think this is the best picture I could find to describe this bi-directional attitude. We're going to discuss in the class, but could you please tell me what is the attitude of this dog towards this, I don't know, it's rat, guinea pig, I don't know what it is. What do you think of squirrel, I don't know, what do you think it is? Is it positive or negative? I don't know what you answered. We're going to discuss in the class, but if it was negative, the squirrel would be there. So sometimes things may look different, they really are. Sometimes we may have a negative face, but we may not be having a negative attitude. Okay, so let's see what's the next one for us to discuss. I want you to remember that in social cognition there are two key ideas. How we think and feel influences what we really do. So this means attitudes influence behavior. We said it's bidirectional, but attitudes influence behavior means I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking and feeling in a certain way. This highlights the way I'm going to behave. And we will believe something is good for us, we will do that. If we believe or we have the attitude that the exercise will be good for us, we're going to exercise. So our behavior would be exercising, and we will appear having a lot of uniforms. So I want you to understand that sometimes our perception of others and ourselves is vulnerable. It's vulnerable to a number of biases. And what could be these biases? Could be I have wrong perception about myself. I always think I'm thin. I cannot see my big rear unless somebody alerts me on that. Or unless I see it on a mirror. So my perception about myself is biased. I love myself so much I cannot see anything wrong there. So if I'm thinking that I'm not fat, if I believe I'm not fat, what will happen to my attitude towards diet? I hope you answered that because I believe and I feel and I think that I'm not fat, I'm not going to start a diet. So my attitude influences my behavior. And my behavior of not dieting influences my attitude in a vicious circle, and I'm going to a party and I'm eating as there's no tomorrow. This is also what I want you to see as the best cartoon ever. Exercise the dirty word. Every time I hear it, I want to wash my mouth with chocolate. So this is a two-way attitude. And I want you to understand how this becomes and elicits to more and more attitudes. Number one, I have a negative attitude. I don't like, I don't believe, I think that exercise is not good. And because I think exercise is not good, I'm sitting on my couch. And because I'm not exercising, I'm not engaged in exercising behavior, and I'm sitting all the day there, and I'm hungry and I'm bored, I'm eating to comfort me. I need my feeling good hormone. It's not coming from exercise, it will come from the chocolate and the rubbish I eat. So I'm engaging in a completely different behavior. And this completely different behavior will go back and bring me what? An attitude where I'm going to the supermarket and I'm shopping nuts, I'm shopping chips, I'm shopping chocolates, I'm shopping cans of food. Now, I want you to think, what comes first? The attitude or the behavior? And I want you to be alerted here on this. Attitude can be positive, negative, or neutral. And we're coming back on this. I want that example for later. So what do you think it comes first? But first you behave a certain way, and then you make up an attitude, or you have a certain attitude, and that's why you behave a certain way. I'm going back. I want you to see this example. Remember, I don't like exercise. Because I don't like exercise, I don't behave like exercising, and therefore I'm behaving a different way. And by behaving a different way in the beginning, I don't like eating all this rubbish, but in the end I've developed that. So for the purpose of these exercises, I want you to understand that in the beginning I had a negative attitude towards exercise and a neutral attitude towards healthy eating. Negative towards exercise, positive towards relaxing. So I don't exercise, I go to my couch and I'm surf couching. And when I'm surf couching, because I have a neutral attitude towards food, I'm not eating healthy food or minimum food, I'm eating rubbish. So therefore, my negative attitude towards exercise is building up because I'm becoming fatter and fatter and fatter. Now I cannot exercise. Now, I want you to find a situation where you have always demonstrated a specific attitude towards it. Something you are always doing. Like, since baby I used to like strawberry ice cream. Since I was a baby all my life, I used to sleep late. Things like that. And I want you to tell me and write down if this attitude is affecting the way you behave. So if you go to a supermarket, the first thing you're going subconsciously to pick up from there, if you like strawberry ice cream, will pick up strawberry. If the salesperson tells you, would you like to try this? And you say maybe, and then you may try something else. But the first instinctive move is to pick up your strawberry. Or if you like to sleep late, this is your instinctive behavior. Now, I want you to remember, and we're going to use it later, how strong and consistent is this attitude. Are you always buying strawberry ice cream, or you're thinking to buy strawberry ice cream first, even if you buy something else? Okay. Are you always trying to make anything to sleep late? Rushing in the road but sleeping late? Or waking up early? I want you to remember that. Because really this is an important thing. It is this I want you to remember. If we continuously engage in a specific behavior, here in exercise, then we are likely to believe other stuff about this behavior. It's not only because I want to pick up muscles, because I want to be fit. I try and find other healthy outcomes. It makes me feel good. It shapes up my body. I meet people. So then the behavior influencing the attitude. So I start liking going all the time to the gym. Okay? This is what I want you to remember. And I want you also to remember that there are some specific factors which are affecting this attitude and behavior link. And these 5 factors somehow make the link stronger or not so strong. It doesn't matter if it starts from attitude or behavior. I want you to understand specific things that are related to the attitude mainly. Okay? And they somehow support the behavior. I want you to remember that attitude is what we think, what we feel. So it is very much related to our cognitive processes and very much related to our emotions. So it is deep, deep, deep down in our limbic brain. So if I have a specific attitude towards things, I will have a specific behavior. But let's discuss the theory and what people have discovered on this. I know that I have them in peculiar order, but I'm discussing that in the specific order, and I will explain to you later. There is the strength of the attitude, which is depending if I have a direct exposure or indirect exposure to this attitude. The way I am accessing this attitude, quickly or not quickly, is it coming instinctively, straight in my mind or not? So what happens to you when you see a spider? Are you jumping? Or you are not scared from the beginning? That's very important. Remember that. And I want you also to remember, is it our attitude specific or in general idea? So are you having an attitude negative towards exercise or towards something specific of this exercise? Like, I don't mind swimming, I don't mind skiing, I don't mind biking, but I really, really, really hate jogging because I'm fat, because when I'm jogging, my knees are killing me the next day. And sometimes this attitude can have an ambivalence, like, I'm not sure, I'm not negative, I'm not positive, I'm in between. That makes it peculiar, and I will explain what kind of behavior this ambivalence can create. And of course, social situation, because we're humans, sometimes our attitude can be completely different when we're in a social context than when we're at home. I know that at home I'm screaming, because the Greeks have a loud and a louder volume. I'm talking very loud because the prosody of my language is coming from the diaphragm. I have to speak loud. That's how I trained. Here I'm trying to make it not so loud. When you speak, I'm speaking louder though. When I'm speaking to this microphone, I'm trying to remember all the time, keep telling to myself, keep it slow, because it becomes pitchy and people cannot hear, or it's not good. Still, according to the social situation, I'm really changing my specific attitude. So this is the idea I want you to remember. There are 5 factors affecting the attitudes, and all of them have an overarching factor, the social situation. You're not acting the same way in the class as you act at home. At home you can have your feet all the time on the table. You cannot have here all day your feet on the table. Also, and this is how all of these are interacting, I want you to understand that within the social situation, the strength of the attitude has a priority role. How strong it is, how my emotion is strong on this specific attitude. Do I hate it? Do I like it? Or it is okay? huge difference on how my attitude will be created or will be transformed to behavior. Do I have accessibility? My brain, is it bringing that immediately? Or it is buried at the back of my mind, deep bottom of my memory? Or it comes all the time up? Also, is it specific or it is a vague attitude towards, oh, I don't like fruit? Or specific, I don't like pineapple? Because if you don't like fruit, but it's okay to eat some fruit, at the end of the day you can eat all the time watermelon and you eat fruit. And ambivalence is the situation where you can play around all the time. Remember that, it's very important. What is a social situation? For example, I want you to understand this. We will eat the rice pudding for dessert at home, okay? And I hate it. I don't like it. And I go to a party and I don't like the rice pudding, but there I don't want to look like picky or not polite, and I try it and I eat it because I don't want the others to see me not eating rice pudding, which is a very famous Greek dessert. Another example. I don't want to be friend with Marie or Georgia or Christina. I'm not her friend. But we are two girls in a party, and I have a car, she has not. She has left behind by her friends. I'm not a friend, but I offer to pick her up, give her a lift in my car. This is a social situation. I will never do that again. It's an attitude and behavior which is chosen because I want to be polite. Another example. I want you to think one, but I'm giving you another example until you think one more. We know most people in a conference and they have a very strong negative opinion about cosmetic surgery. Okay? And we're talking about these things, about cosmetic surgery, and although I have done my nose, I have done my bum, I have done hundreds of cosmetic surgeries, I hide the fact that I have done it, or have Botox, or have a nose job, or whatever. Do we understand that? So my attitude towards my very favorite hobby of having cosmetic surgery and my behavior of going there and paying a lot of money is hidden because I want to have a social, desirable, correct approval, on the approval of the others, social, desirable behavior. So I want you to understand that social situation impacts on how freely we express our attitudes because we are concerned, we don't want to present a negative image in a social situation. We want to be liked or approved by the group we belong to or our peers. So these attitudes can change according to my social context. I want you to remember that when we want to predict behavior from attitudes, we need to take away the social norms, the social situations parameter. So if I'm going to try to influence you on something, I'm taking away the norm of what's happening in the social context. For example, Muslim girls do not go to school in Afghanistan. But if I take the social norm of Muslim girls don't go to school in Afghanistan and I bring them over here, Muslim Afghani girls go to school. Okay? So their behavior would be predictable. There they won't go to school. here, because everybody's going to school, because the country is enforcing the schooling, they will go to school. So I want you to understand that in social behaviors where there is a specific norm or situation, the behavior is completely and the attitude is completely predictable. But when the social situation is ambivalent, the behavior is not completely predictable. This was the theme of my research, and I would like to discuss that in the class if I have some time, but I want you to understand that I have deeply researched Greeks, and I realized that if the social situation forces them to speak Greek, they do speak Greek. If the social situation is favourite towards Australian culture or language, they favour that. Are they in between? Yes, they are. Why? Because they want the best of both worlds. They want to be Greeks with Greeks, Australians with Australians. Okay? Now, let's discuss what is attitude strength. And when I finish the attitude strength, I will stop this video because it becomes too big. And I would like to stop the videos according to the class lesson. What is attitude strength? It is how strong it's the influence of this attitude to our behavior. And I want you to understand that the strength is important when there is a lot of strong emotional weighting, which is very well adjusted, something we will learn later, and which is called classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is something that happens to my brain in a split 0.5 of a second, and I'm connecting something with something else. We did last year the memory, and I want you to remember that that split second when I put the things in my memory in a specific way, when I'm moving from the short-term to the long-term memory, it matters how I have placed that in my long-term memory. That split second, the 0.5 of a second. Have I done it as something good, something bad, something neutral, something scary, something weird? How? So this is how I'm going to do that. And when I always put in my attitude this emotional wrapping. Okay? And because this is happening and coming again and again and again with the same emotional weighting, with the same strength, the attitude becomes stronger and endures over the time. It becomes a habituation. It becomes a habit of the mind. Every morning I wake up and make a coffee. So these ones that they are have weighting related to a lot of emotion, and it is continuous and it lasts for long time. It is more resistant to change than the weaker attitudes. So it is highly predictable. Because you know Alexandra as a Greek will behave the same way. When I see my daughter in danger, I say, "Proszę, be careful." Okay, screaming, scaring her more. So this is what I want you to understand about the strength, the attitude strength. It builds up on classical condition and reflex, becomes a reflex, becomes automatic response. And how this occurs with direct experience or indirect experience, which we call also mere exposure. Remember, how big is your attitude towards spiders and being afraid of spiders? Okay, you already responded, good or bad. I bet you those of you who have seen a spider walking on your leg have a direct experience on this spider thing. You have an attitude of scared as hell of spiders. compared to those who have heard that spiders are scary, who have seen movies with spiders scary. So this is what I want you to understand, that when we have a direct experience, this personal experience forms an attitude, and it becomes a very heavily emotional on hate or love situation. And of course it's stronger when it is direct, and the most important is the longer, remember the time frame, the longer we have it in our mind, the longer we're thinking and talking about it, the experience is becoming more sealed, more imprinted, okay? It's concreted now. So it becomes a specific attitude and behavior towards a specific thing. Indirect experience, which we call it mere exposure, can happen because we have read about something, somebody told us something. Is it involving rumors? Yes, of course. You can have an attitude because people say that eating fruit is good. It's not proven, but people say that eating, I don't know, sesame is good. So you eat it. Or hearing or watching about people's experiences, like hearing your parents telling you what was the 70s. And all of this make you form an impression on things. It could be because you observe other people having the same attitude towards something. So it could be something like observational learning. This way, we can be, let's say, influenced by advertisement. Okay? In the beginning of the advertisement, we haven't tried it. It's not our direct exposure. We hear friends saying, oh, iPhone is good. Or hear people advertising, oh, get it, it's good. That's mere exposure. And what happens to you? You see all the others, observe all the others using the iPhone, and eventually you go and get it and make Apple rich. So I want you to remember, as we discuss about attitude strength, indirect experience is not as strong as the direct experience exposure. It is less emotionally intense. Somebody else was working on spiders or on snakes, not you, the actor, and survived, so it's okay. And because it's happened to somebody else, you don't retell it. You don't rethink it. So you don't process it again in your brain. Remember, attitude is what we think and what we feel about person or an object. So if it comes through your mind and you don't retell it again to keep the memory and the attitude alive, you forget it after a while. Okay? And this is what we're going to do in the class. You have to give me an example of yours, and we're going to have an exercise on this, a practice. And this is a practice we're going to have. We're going to discuss the attitude strength from the Regan and Fazio research of 1997 on page 53 of your book. I'll give you some time to discuss it. People were discussing and were separated in groups according to their direct or indirect exposure to having a normal accommodation or not normal accommodation. And the results Regan and Fazio found, it's in your book, it's that the attitude was the same. They were both negative about the housing crisis. However, they didn't demonstrate the same behavior. Those who have direct exposure, they were more active into finding a solution for their problem, whereas the others were, we'll discuss what they were. And this will be your homework, this learning activity. I want you to discuss the research design and give examples of why the research design was that. Describe the method the data were collected and what kind of data collection was that, what kind of subjective or objective, and why. And discuss the ethical considerations and give an interpretation. So this is part of the intro. We will keep working because it's part of the subject outline. Every time we're going to discuss ethics, research designs, and kinds of research collection. They ask you this kind of things within a context of the topic. They can ask you, and they have done it, asking you this kind of research with social cognition topic too. You have to discuss the experiment, what kind of experiment is that, how the experiment is ethical or unethical. For example, the Milgram experiment. It is set up in a social situation. I'm going to stop the video here because it becomes too big and it's only slide 14. I'm going to continue in the next lesson with attitude, accessibility, and the rest. And we're going to discuss accessibility, I'm forgetting it, accessibility, specificity, ambivalence, and we're going also to discuss the theories on how attitudes are created, and this is what we're going to, the theories of the videos, and there are on the website. Okay, thank you.